Welcome back, my friends. Tonight's episode highlights just how different friends and family can be from one another. I'm reminded of a trip I took with Cousin Ned when we were both children. We went to the city of Flanders to find the greatest craftsman there to work on the Stark family tombs. While we were there, Ned fell in love with the city. He even learned their language. But I hated my time there. So when we left, Ned departed with a traditional farewell when he said, "Be sure to come see me sometime, neighborinos." But me, all I could say was stupid Flanders. This is Stark Raving! We begin tonight's episode by checking in on Theon Greyjoy, Ward of the Starks, as he returns home to Pike for the first time since Ned Stark put down his father's rebellion. I turn things over to the magical voice known only as the narrator.
Theon Greyjoy celebrates his return to Pike by screwing the ship captain's daughter. Once there, he accepts a ride from a comely lass and gets very touchy-feely as they head up to his father's castle.
Bow chicka wow wow.
His homecoming is decidedly frosty as his father is still bitter over the death of Theon's brothers when his rebellion was put down by Ned Stark. He does ultimately introduce Theon to his sister, Yara.
That's not his sister. That's the girl he was getting freaky with on the way up to the castle. Excuse me, I must go vomit.
He decides to launch an attack, but with Yara in charge of the fleet.
You won't stand a chance against the Lannisters on your own.
Who said anything about the Lannisters?
I feel cleansed. Speaking of the Lannisters...
Tyrion checks in on Shae to find Varys, eunuch and member of the small council, waiting for him. Varys lets slip he knows Shae isn't supposed to be here, but Tyrion sees through the politeness and lays down the law.
I'm not Ned Stark. I understand the way this game is played.
Ned Stark was a man of honor.
And I am not. Threaten me again, and I'll have you thrown into the sea.
Cersei and the council receive Robb Stark's peace terms and learn Jaime Lannister is still alive, but are dismissive of a note from the Night's Watch asking for more men. Later, Tyrion meets with the commander of the City Watch, Janos, who not only murdered King Robert's bastards, but betrayed Ned Stark. He's decided to replace him with his own man.
These men are under my command. I command you to arrest this cutthroat.
His name is Bronn, and he is the new commander of the City Watch.
Boys? No! I have friends at court! Powerful friends! The king himself made me a lord!
Cersei is furious over his dismissal and unsympathetic to the peasant class. The friction between the siblings becomes more apparent when Tyrion makes a joke and she throws it back in his face that their mother died giving birth to him.
Ouch. Let's go to Dragonstone Island and see what's happening with Stannis Baratheon and his crew.
At Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon's right-hand man, Davos...
Did you say Davros? As in creator of the Daleks? No one said that. Now you stay out of this. This is my review show. But it's so boring after Christmas. I'm just waiting for the new season of Doctor Who to start. Will you be my friend? No. Back to Dragonstone.
Davos secures a pirate fleet to attack King's Landing for Stannis when he tries to take the Iron Throne. However, Stannis knows that he doesn't have the manpower to accomplish this. His priestess, Melisandre, offers him success if he embraces his role in her religion. She ups the ante by promising to sleep with him. Stannis is reluctant, as he has a wife who is deathly ill, but when she promises to bear him a son, it's time to get it on. Ow, ow, oh, there's a rook in my back. Can we stop for just a second? Ow, oh, oh, ow, oh, oh, I guess not. Ow, oh.
That's right, ladies. The only way to get a man to sleep with you is to promise to bear him a son out of wedlock. No man can resist that. Let's return to Lord Baelish's brothel. And I'm not just saying that because I've served on the wall for 20 long years. God, I miss women. And fresh fruit. And room temperature toilet paper.
Littlefinger comforts one of his whores who is inconsolable over the baby's murder in the last episode. However, he shares a story of how he had to sell another sad girl to a man who destroyed her because at the end of the day, he only cares about his profits. A story whose moral is not lost on her.
And daffodils. I miss the smell of daffodils. What? Oh, let's keep thinking warm thoughts as we check in with the Dothraki.
The Dothraki wait for the riders they sent out to scout to return. Ser Jorah notices a horse riding back solo, blood dripping from its satchel. It's Dany's brother-in-law, who's been beheaded, an act of spiritual defilement for the Dothraki. As his widow weeps, she comforts the girl while swearing revenge on whoever did this.
And what of my family? What of the Starks?
Arya Stark is taking care of some business when Joffrey's men arrive. Arya is sure they're here for her, but in truth they're searching for Gendry. The Night's Watch recruiter, Yoren, scares them off, but not before they promise to return with more men. Soon after that, Gendry tells her how he was visited by the last two hands of the king, including Arya's father, Ned. She decides to tell Gendry that she is Arya Stark.
I should be calling you Milady.
Do not call me Milady.
As Milady commands. Well, that was unladylike.
At Castor's homestead, Samwell stops Jon Snow's direwolf, Ghost, from scaring one of Castor's daughter wives. He then takes her to Jon for help. She's pregnant and afraid of what will happen if her baby is a boy. Sam wants to take her, but Jon knows they can't help her. That night, he sees Castor carrying a baby out of his homestead. Jon follows and sees something with glowing blue eyes take the child before Castor surprises him and knocks him out.
Ouch! That's smart! I told him he should wear a helmet like I do. Things are definitely happening in Westeros. But how did it all fare? Let's take a closer look, shall we?
There was a pretty high gross-out factor for this episode. From the incest at Castor's camp to the incest on Pike, to the whore who needed to wipe her mouth. Honestly, it did put me off a bit, and I was originally going to give this episode a lower rating because of it. However, I do have to remember that sometimes just because something makes me uncomfortable doesn't mean it isn't an effective storytelling device. Castor's mentor pulls us. As for the Greyjoys, we're just starting to get to know them, but already they've made a pretty unfavorable impression, casting them in a villain light. Also, it's really hard for me to watch Theon in these love scenes. I mean, he looks like Bela Lugosi's Igor from the Frankenstein movies. Imagine that guy getting freaky. Oi! Taking a break from Robb Stark and his mother, let us focus a bit more on the other stories, giving much-needed time to the Greyjoys and Littlefinger, though I don't feel as if his scene added much. We already know from last season that he's a bastard. Did we really need to reinforce it again so soon? I assume that we'll take little breaks from every story so that the others get more time without feeling rushed. Though I do have to say that again, I felt Dany's tribe is getting the short end of the stick on time. So far all we've seen is the Dothraki wandering, with a bit of CGI dragons and murder thrown in. Now that she's properly motivated, hopefully the pace will pick up in the south. And I did enjoy the tease at the end of the episode, with Will discovering Castor is apparently sacrificing babies to the undead monsters of the north. That and our return to Arya were welcome. It's not lost on me that she and Gendry are now forming a bond similar to the one held by their fathers during the first season. Tension's all well and good, but a little humor is welcome too.
So while the gross-out factor did initially put me off, I thought better of it and realized that horribleness can be an effective storytelling device. Beyond that, there were some definite teases that the action in Westeros is about to pick up. I give The Nightlands 3 severed heads of Sean Bean out of 5. I did like it a little better than last week's episode, but I'm not giving half ratings on this show. I refuse to cut one of those melons in twain. Blech. Before I go, my friends, let me ask you, do you have a question about life in Westeros? Leave it in the comments section in quotation marks, and I'll pick one to answer on next week's show. Anything you want to know, I, Lord Stark, will answer. Until then, this is Stark Raving!